Good afternoon, good morning. Mark Johnson from Loyalty360. Hope everyone's happy, safe, and well. I want to welcome you back to our Leaders in Customer Loyalty series. This is the Industry Voices podcast. In this series, we speak with leading agencies, technology partners, and consultants in customer channel and brand loyalty about the technology trends and best practices that impact a brand's ability to drive unique experiences, enhance engagement, but most importantly, impact customer loyalty. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about travel. And let's be honest, travel is either the most magical experience you'll ever have or a complete circus. There's rarely an in-between. And the higher your expectations, the more likely something is to go sideways. And when it does, guess who's in the hot seat? Everyone. From the cruise lines, the airlines, and the hotels, to the OTAs, travel agents, and those mysterious intermediaries who somehow always end up in the mix. It's a high-stakes game of please don't mess this up, and yet we keep coming back for more. So in the spirit of making travel less chaotic and more delightful, we're diving into how to create engaging, personalized experiences that can actually make customers feel like someone cares and drive that emotional loyalty. Crazy idea, right? Today, we're going to jump into that and learn a little bit more. We're going to be speaking with Jamie Perry. He's the president of Paisly, a very unique and upcoming travel entity that is hoping to transform the way customers view travel. Jamie, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you as well. It's been a while, but for those new to the show, potentially, and new to understanding Paisly, can you give us a little bit introduction of what Paisly is, what you guys do, how you do it? Maybe what was the genesis of the company?
Sure. So JetBlue is, as the airline, is 25 years old this year. And pretty much since the beginning of its existence, it has also sold non-air ancillary products to its customers, whether that be hotels, rental cars, travel insurance, vacation packages, etc. And what we've learned over time is that many airlines sell these products, and they typically go down a journey of maturity as they do. They commonly would start by some kind of white label partnership with an organization that sells these types of products, which offers a quick and easy turnkey solution to starting to sell non-air offerings. But what you find is relatively quickly, the amount of revenue they're able to make from those partnerships plateaus. And that's largely because there's very limited digital integration or loyalty program integration into the airline's core offering. So you're able to make some money quite quickly, but the amount of money you make through those types of partnerships relatively quickly plateaus. Then the next thing that happens is some airlines say, actually, let's take this back in-house and do it ourselves, because if we do that, we can more deeply integrate the offerings into our core flight offerings and into our loyalty offerings. So that's like sort of phase two. And when you do that, you find that you start to grow the revenue that you're generating from these products again, as JetBlue did. But then you reach a second plateau, and that second plateau is typically caused by the fact that you need resources to grow the business. You need money, you need people, you need technology time, whatever it might be, to actually grow the business as you want to grow it. But when you're facing those internal battles with the airline as to who gets what resources and prioritization of resources, this business would typically lose out because it's smaller than the airline. So it doesn't get the people, it doesn't get the money, it doesn't get the attention it needs, and it's therefore unable to grow the way people would like it to grow. Now, what we did in 2018 was to say we're going to solve that resource constraint problem by actually taking the business and spinning it out into a separate company. So in 2018, what we are now was created as JetBlue Travel Products, 100% owned subsidiary of JetBlue, and we were given independence over our resources. We were given our own budget. We were able to decide who we hired, what technology we built or didn't build, how we invested, and so on. And that led to a third round of growth for us. Now, we've recently reached a third plateau that comes around because the next constraint you face is you can only grow as fast as the airline is growing, because the airline is essentially providing you with a source of leads for you to sell things to. And as you start to maximize the amount of money you can make per lead, the growth of those leads becomes the constraint. So what we've done now with the United partnership, which we're going to come and talk about in a minute, is we're now able to grow beyond simply JetBlue by working with United and selling product to United customers as well. So that will unlock the fourth round of growth for us. But starting to work with United as an airline partner, as well as just JetBlue, has led us to rebrand. So we're not so closely tied to the JetBlue brand anymore, which is why we've changed the name from JetBlue Travel Products to Paisly.
Okay, excellent. So you talked about some of the kind of benefits of the rebrand, getting a little bit less tied in or affiliated with JetBlue, allows you to kind of open up and partner with others. Does the alignment have anything in synergy with regard to kind of the broader jet forward strategy at JetBlue as
Yeah,
well? Okay.
absolutely. So there are four pillars under the JetBlue Jet Forward strategy, one of which is products and perks, and that's where we sit. So on the one hand, we continue to grow the offerings that we present to JetBlue customers and TrueBlue members. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we personalize those offers and how we make those more relevant to people. So that's one driver of growth, but also by being able now to work with United and their customers and their Mileage Plus members as well, we open up a whole new growth avenue for Paisly and ultimately for JetBlue.
Okay. When you look at kind of the technical opportunities, because obviously Paisly has a deep foundation rooted in technology and technology, kind of the efficacy of said technology. When you look at maintaining the technical foundations of Paisly, but wanting to deliver a distinct, unique and align booking experience for JetBlue customers, for United customers, and for others who maybe go and engage with the service going forward. How do you balance that? How do you balance kind of the technology, the personalization,
Yeah.
depending on the kind of the scenario in which it's utilized?
Yes. So when we were founded, we never intended to build any technology, to write any code. That was not the operating mindset on day one. We very much thought that we were going to be more of an integration play by working with some of the large existing technology providers, and also a range of smaller startup technology companies that we had access to through our then sister company, JetBlue Tech Ventures. But what we found was the more we spoke to the large established travel tech companies, the more we found that they had a product that they would make available to you, but they weren't really open to changing it in any way. You would take what they had, and there were maybe 5 or 6 customization levers you could pull, but beyond that, it was what it was. Right. So they have the experience in the space and they understand the industry, but they weren't really willing to work with us to create something different and new and special. Similarly, the startups we work with were willing to do anything. Right. They had 1,000 great ideas, but they didn't have the expertise. They didn't have the experience. And when push came to shove, they often couldn't actually deliver on some of the ideas and the sort of enthusiasm that they had. So we found ourselves at something of an impasse and ultimately started to build out some limited technology to solve for the problems that we saw that we felt needed to be addressed. But we still are very reluctant technologists, only building where we think it's necessary.
Okay.
What we do try to do instead is leverage two things. We are not trying to be something to everyone, right? We do not necessarily aspire to be the organization that is selling to every consumer in every country in the world, right? That's not who we are. There are others who are more capable and better suited to doing that. What we do instead aspire to be is to be everything to someone, right? And that comes by being incredibly relevant to people. And if we think about it through JetBlue and United's lenses, that basically means they're loyalty members. They are the people about whom the airline knows the most and about whom it has the most data. And therefore, those are the customers for whom we are able to put the most personalized and tailored offers in front of them. One of the things that we hear a lot is that the only really scarce resource in the universe today is our time, our attention span, right? There are so many people out there trying to grab our attention with messages, with ads, what have you, right? And if you want to cut through that noise and actually be relevant, there's three ways you can do it. You can be loud, right? You can be constantly advertising, bombarding people with ads all the time so that they ultimately engage with you. You can be controversial. You can go and try something outlandish and different to grab someone's attention. We don't aspire to be either of those. What we aspire to be is to be relevant. And relevance comes from really understanding who people are and what they need and what they value, so that you can put the right offer in front of the right person at the right price at the right time. And that's what we're trying to do here. So most of what we do on the technology side is connect existing resources together with the sort of very light touch on the integration side, while simultaneously leveraging customer data to put really compelling, valuable offers in front of people at the right time.
You mentioned as we were prepping for this, kind of the challenges of moving from kind of a single kind of client-provided entity
Yeah.
to a more diverse entity. And with travel, tons of competitors out there, right? And maybe not direct competitors, things, competitors that may be doing part of what you're doing, some of what you're doing, all of what you're doing,
Yes.
from no service to full service.
Yes.
Being kind of a loyalty quote unquote expert, the challenge of the full service is somewhat substantial, right? From depending if it's a small boutique with 5 employees to to Macy's to the U.S. Post Office, going to vary. So when
Yeah.
you look at that, what were the most significant UX improvements that you put in place that were needed to extend the
Yes.
platform from a flight only offering to more of a full service offering?
Yes. It's a great question. So, as I mentioned a second ago, what we aspire to do is to put the right offer at the right price in front of the right person at the right time, right? Now, what that requires is a lot of work behind the scenes to ingest all the data that you have about individuals and then sort through the various offers and products that you have available to make the right ones available to them, right? That's where the real smarts happens. In terms of the UX, though, we have this concept that we call optimal distinctiveness, right? There are some areas where you can really benefit by being different from the others and standing out from the crowd. And we choose to be different through the human-centric customer service approach that we take, as opposed to the highly automated approach most others take, and also through this highly personalized offer that we put in front of people by giving you something that we talk about as a segment of one, right? I'm not looking at all people who are mosaics or all people who are Mileage Plus Gold members. I'm looking at you, Mark, and trying to come up with the right offer for you, which will be different from the offer for me, different for the offer from my wife, etc. Now, in terms of the way the screen looks, we found that people are so used to the way travel is booked today that they don't actually want anything that is significantly different, right? They like the use of maps, for example, and being able to look at where properties are on maps with price points hovering over them. They understand how that works. They're very comfortable with that, right? So we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what are the areas where we can differentiate with a difference and with impact in a way which customers feel they get extra value from, whilst sticking to what they know in other areas so they don't feel discombobulated or struggling to understand what we're doing.
Okay. When you look at the personalization of offers, you mentioned that a number of times throughout the
Yeah.
interview, how important it is to make sure that they're relevant, they're timely, in the right channel.
Yes.
When you look at kind of the data sets that are needed, we
Mhm.
talked a little bit about leveraging itinerary data potentially. What other types of data do you need,
Yeah.
and how do you look at, creating the model, creating the algorithms that
Yeah.
can make that relevant to the customer?
Yes, so we've learned some interesting lessons on this one. Sometimes there is some things you will never know, right? For example, if you are flying from Denver to Fort Lauderdale on your own, right? We can put a rental car offer in front of you that is perfect for a man flying from Denver to Fort Lauderdale on his own. There is no possible way we can know that you are meeting 10 of your buddies in Fort Lauderdale and going to play in a soccer tournament, right? Because that's just not information we have access to. So we recognize that there are some limitations in terms of how deeply you can personalize. But what you can start to do is you can start to look at patterns through what people have done in the past. You can start to look at things like people are telling you in real time. So does this person always rank hotels based on star rating? Do they rank them on price from lowest to highest? These are signals that you can interpret in ways that help inform you as to what the right offer I should put in front of someone is. And also something that's incredibly valuable is understanding how many loyalty points you have, whether you have a co-brand credit card, because then I can start to merchandise offers based around your individual status. So if you have 500,000 True Blue points, I might put an offer in front of you for a hotel that is priced entirely in True Blue points. If you have 10,000 True Blue points, that's not going to be enough points to get an entire hotel stay, but I could alternatively position that as a discount off the available rate by putting the 10,000 points you do have towards it, right? And then the other thing we found is incredibly useful and often overlooked is just publicly available data, right? What's the weather forecast where you're going?
Yeah.
Something we found incredibly powerful last year was what is the agenda of the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, right? Because there are things like that that can really help inform why you might be doing what you're doing in the travel space and how we might be able to put an offer in front of you that is relevant to what you're doing. If you're flying from Denver to Newark last July with two teenage girls on the same days when there's a Taylor Swift concert, rather than offering you a hotel in Times Square, I might start thinking about offering you a hotel in East Rutherford, right? Because it's probably more relevant to where you're going than the Midtown New York hotel would be.
Okay. One of the things that we brought about the new program, I know Mosaic members get exclusive hotel perks and benefits
Mhm.
and bonus related opportunities. Is there a plan to potentially tailor the offering kind of holistically to more loyalty tiered redemption or promotional opportunities?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier this concept we have of a segment of one. There are a number of offers. The pricing in the accommodation industry and the cruise industry is incredibly complicated. One of the things that Paisly does is it ingests all available pricing and figures out in real time what is the best offer we can put in front of you. Now, sometimes that will be a function of the fact that you've already got a flight booked. Sometimes it will be a function of your loyalty member your loyalty tier status or the fact that you're a member of a loyalty program. There are other criteria as well. And we do all that behind the scenes and make sure that we're putting the lowest price point in front of you that you qualify for. Beyond that, it's really much more about individual personalization than it is about blanket across 3 or 4 segments.
Okay. When you look at customer loyalty, are there programs that you admire holistically from a kind of a customer engagement, customer loyalty perspective? What do you like about the offerings, and do you take some of that potentially even included in kind of the Paisley offering?
Yeah, I'm not going to name names because I'm a man of peace, but there are a couple of credit of attributes I look at when I'm looking at other loyalty programs that I admire. One is leaning into what I said earlier, programs that are relevant to me, right? What are the ones that are really understanding who I am and what I'm doing and put messaging and offers in front of me that work for me. Those are the ones I think are the most effective. The other thing I really like is programs that find a way to engage with you every day, right? If you think about airlines, very, very few people are buying flights every day or even thinking about buying flights every day. Hell, some people don't travel more than once a year or once every 2 years, right? So if you're able to actually find a way through your loyalty program to get me to engage with the program once a day, once a week, even if I only travel once a year, then that's how you really start to get your brand to be top of mind so that when I do come to book a flight, I think of whoever you are as opposed to someone else because I've been engaging with your loyalty program that much more frequently and that regularly.
Okay. When you look at customer expectations, there's some headwinds right now from the economic perspective, and you continue to read in the travel industry that kind of the upper tiers, mid to upper tiers are doing well. Economy is struggling a little bit holistically, both in the U.S. and
Yeah.
internationally. What other customer expectations do you see potentially changing or evolving, through the rest of 25 going into 26, and how should brands, especially in the travel industry, prepare to meet them?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think we have to look at social media, right? If there's one thing we can take away from the last 20 years, right? Imagine going home in the evening after work, you turn on linear TV, one of the networks, doesn't matter which one, it's entertaining, right? You can watch, there'll be something you'll watch, right? Alternatively, you go home and you put on Netflix or you go to Instagram on your phone, you're going to feel much more compelling content there because what's there is so personalized to you. It's so relevant to you. It comes from what you've done in the past, what people like you have done in the past, what your friends have done, etc. Which is why those channels are winning relative to the legacy TV networks. And I think the same is true for travel, right? It's on us increasingly to find ways to be relevant to our customers, to be talking to them about things that they care about that matter. And if we can continue to do that, I think that will keep us in the conversation as time is increasingly scarce.
Okay. So what's next for Paisly? What's next for you guys?
Great question. Well, we've obviously partnered with United, and the next sort of 6 to 12 months is very much focused on executing on what we have agreed to and bringing those programs live. So everybody's very focused on that. Longer term, I would love to see us bring on more airline partners in due course. But I think certainly for now we're very much focused on just making a success of the United partnership.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. It was great getting to know a little bit more about the program, a little bit more about you, Jamie. But don't jump off yet, because we have our favorite quick fire question round where we like to keep the responses to a word or a short phrase, and they're usually very interesting. So here we go. What's your
Okay.
favorite word?
Joy,
Excellent. What is your least favorite word?
pain,
What excites you?
life,
Okay. What do you find tiresome?
passport application forms,
Okay. What profession, other than the current one, even one you currently have, would you potentially be interested in doing?
professional sailboat racer,
Okay. What do you also enjoy doing that maybe you don't get the time to do as often?
sailboat racing.
There you go. Who inspired you to become the person that you are today?
I've done many things in many industries, in many places, and they all contribute to who I am.
Excellent. What do you typically think about at the end of the day?
My family,
And how do you want to be remembered by your friends and family?
someone who they could count on, who was always there for them.
Excellent. Well, Jamie, thanks again for taking the time to speak with us today. It was great having you on the Leaders in Customer Loyalty series, the Industry Voices podcast. Looking forward to hearing more from you and the Paisly team going forward. And thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Also want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen today. If you haven't, please subscribe in the Leaders in Customer Loyalty podcast below and follow us on YouTube. Looking forward to having you guys back soon. Until then, have a wonderful day.